Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It was amusing to hear the ranking member warn about the impending shutdown just hours after he voted against a measure that would prevent a shutdown, but I'll save that for another day. Mr. Higgins, how would you assess California's energy policies?
California has been dealing with climate change, I think, at an accelerated basis and has attempted to resolve that through a measure.
Yes, they have done quite a bit of that, and there's a cost to that. We now have the third highest electricity prices in the country, and I can tell you personally, on Tuesday morning at Sacramento Airport, regular gasoline was selling for $5.26 a gallon. The problem that you and your friends have is that people can remember how they were doing 4 years ago, and people also know exactly how they're doing in their own lives today. And when you try to tell them otherwise, you just look foolish. You know, the day Donald Trump left office, America was energy independent for the first time in 62 years. The Strategic Petroleum Reserve was full, and a gallon of gasoline averaged $2.39 a gallon. Now, that wasn't an accident. A Republican president and a Republican Congress had won the greatest regulatory relief in American history. American oil and gas exploration was ramping to historic levels. The Keystone Pipeline was under construction, promising to pump an additional 830,000 barrels of Canadian crude oil a day into the American economy. And all that changed on the first day of the Biden-Harris administration. They canceled the Keystone Pipeline, killing 11,000 construction jobs in the process. They closed federal lands to further oil exploration. They closed the Arctic to further leasing. As gasoline prices skyrocketed to historic highs, they began draining the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. It's now at a 40-year low. And when that wasn't nearly enough to bring down prices, they relaxed oil sanctions on Iran, flooding the dictatorship with oil revenues that have been used to fund terrorism around the world. And meanwhile, under Biden and Harris, electricity prices have ballooned 30%. Mr. Epstein, the ranking member boasts that American production is up. But doesn't production take years to bring online? And the production today was made possible by the regulatory relief under Trump?
Yeah, so, I mean, it's really simple, right? Joe Biden ran on, I guarantee you we're going to end fossil fuel, and as I said, has done everything he could get away with to restrict production. So the fact that it's gone up is obviously in spite of him, not because of him. He didn't promise record oil production. It's just something he wants to take credit for, much like President Obama.
In fact, they keep telling us oil production is evil.
Yeah, so it's
and then they boast
it's
about
opportunistic. I don't know if I can comment on California, but I'm a Californian. Is that okay?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I want to give people a resource, by the way, because there have been many false claims made today. And I looked at Mr. Higgins' testimony last week. If people just go to alexepstein.substack.com, I refuted 12 of the myths that he said, I think, last week, which he also said today. And then if you also go there, look up every myth about net zero refuted, and you'll basically cover everything that's been said. California, that report he mentioned by Energy Innovation, that is a total trash report. They excluded California, and they blame California energy prices on climate change. You know that's not true. And also our wildfire problems are because of green policies that prevent us from doing proper forest management to reduce the fuel load. It's very easy to manage forests well. We don't do it because of green reasons. So California, which is a pretty self-contained grid, although we depend on a bunch of
In
others,
fact,
that's a model of green energy.
I've got to point out, UCLA did a study of the 2020 fires and concluded that those fires alone released twice the carbon dioxide as California's extremely expensive and disastrous regulations have prevented in the prior 20 years combined. This is just insanity. They say this is to combat climate change, but the climate keeps changing as it has for 4.5 billion years. And these leftist zealots obsess over a 1 degree increase in global temperatures over the next century, but they couldn't care less that they're making it increasingly difficult for American families to make ends meet or to heat their homes in sub-freezing winters or cool their homes in triple-digit summers. Meanwhile, they poured billions of taxpayer funds into these failed green energy schemes that have produced the worst inflation that Americans have experienced in 40 years. And the market for the electric vehicles has utterly collapsed as consumers have discovered the high costs and low performance and dangerous unreliability of this technology. Ms. Jackson, in the few seconds I've got remaining, could you kind of give us just an overview of what that's doing to an average family in our country?
You know, you mentioned California, but I want to say this. One of the things that the California's environmental policies have done is create artificial scarcity in home ownership so that you have the most segregated communities in the country. And we have the lowest home ownership for minorities in the state of California since Jim Crow.
Well, I just say, all of us in California, at least, if things get bad enough, have 49 other states to move to. If we allow these people to destroy our country, where are we going to go?